Hello everyone. Subscribe to the channel to get more videos. Also, let us know in the comments what city you are watching from. Now let's begin this one. I woke up to the smell of stale coffee and silence. Not the usual kind of silence where someone's just out grabbing groceries or still asleep. This was the heavy, unnatural kind. The kind that buzzes in your ears, like the room itself knows something you don't. Our office was unusually clean. Jenna always left her sketch pads everywhere, layered like shingles across the drafting table. But this morning, the desk was wiped down, almost too carefully. No mug, no tablet, no laptop, just a single piece of printer paper, creased once, placed right in the center. I didn't even have to touch it to know it was from her. My name is Marcus. I'm 38 years old, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. For the past 7 years, I've co-owned a sustainable architecture firm with my fiancée, Jenna. We built this place together, literally. Laid down the flooring, painted the walls, stacked blueprints in the cheap IKEA filing cabinets we swore we'd replace someday. I unfolded the note and read, "I need independence. This isn't working anymore. I need space. Don't reach out." That was it. I read it again. Then again. Still nothing beyond those 4 lines. No explanation. No, I love you. Not even a signature. Her boots were still by the door. The same old steel-toe work boots she'd worn when we built our prototype off-grid cabin in the Pisgah Woods. But her laptop? Gone. Her drawing tablet? Gone. Her personal folders with the branding pitch for our next client? All cleared out. That's how I knew this wasn't a momentary thing. This was an exit. Jenna didn't do things halfway. When she jumped, she didn't leave a rope behind. I sat at the drafting table and stared at the coffee she brewed last night, half full in her ceramic mug. The edges of it had crusted into a thin brown line. She had packed her favorite gear, left behind the projects we started together, and didn't even bother to hide her intentions. The quiet hit me all at once. I looked around the office, our office, and tried to picture what would come next. A week ago, we were tweaking solar angles for a microhome community grant proposal. Last night, we were eating takeout Thai on the couch while she adjusted lighting textures in a mock-up. She didn't say a single thing about leaving. No fight. No threat. Just silence. She thrives on impulse. That's always been her rhythm. Dream big, pivot fast, change everything overnight. I was the planner. The one who reminded her which utilities we hadn't transferred yet, who color-coded our expense spreadsheets. Now I was alone in a space that still smelled like us. And she was already gone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat. Part of me went numb. The other part, an odd, mechanical calm, started taking inventory. She left her key. Her boots. Our last blueprint, half-sketched and taped to the wall. That meant something, even if I didn't know what yet. By noon, I'd filed her note into a manila folder under a new label, Exit. Then I opened my laptop and started making calls. By the next morning, I was already on the phone with Lionel Vega. He answered on the second ring. "Marcus." That was fast. "I need to talk partnerships," I said. "And asset protection." Lionel didn't ask questions, not the personal kind. Anyway, that's why I'd kept him on retainer since year 2 of our firm. He was the type of attorney who always wore a tie, even on Zoom calls, and once referred to an LLC operating agreement as sacred. I told him about the note, about the gear Jenna took, about what she left behind. She didn't formally resign from the company, I said. But it's clear she's out. She didn't state it in writing? Not exactly. But she cleared out her stuff. Left me a handwritten note about needing independence and space. She said not to reach out. Lionel made a small noise in his throat, the kind he used when choosing his words carefully. She was a managing partner, correct? Equal ownership. 50-50. And you're still operating? For now. There was a pause. Then he said, "Let's freeze the assets." By noon, I'd signed an authorization for Lionel to contact our bank. We flagged the joint accounts, froze outgoing transactions, and suspended Jenna's administrator privileges on the project management software. It wasn't personal, it was protocol. But I couldn't deny how much it felt like a line in the sand. I reported a few irregular logins to our cloud storage service. Not because I had evidence of foul play, but because I didn't trust silence. Jenna had always been impulsive, but she wasn't reckless. If she left, she had a plan. I just didn't know what it was yet. After the calls, I sat at my desk and stared at our shared calendar. Next week was supposed to be the site research trip. I had pitched it months ago, scouting off-grid parcels and documenting natural terrain for a low-impact, modular living concept. Jenna called it my cabin in the woods nonsense. Said it was romantic but pointless. Not marketable. She refused to come, so I booked it solo. Now, it was looking less like a research trip and more like a strategic retreat. I packed lightly. Field notebooks, drone, solar charger, my hiking boots. I locked the office door behind me and paused for a moment in the hallway. The light was dim. The silence deeper than yesterday. I slid the key off my ring and held it in my palm. The folder with her note, just the one sheet of printer paper, sat neatly inside the filing cabinet under exit. Not shredded, not tossed, just there, quiet and undeniable. It felt like the right place to leave it. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I didn't post cryptic thoughts on social media or tell mutual friends what happened. Instead, I drove toward the mountains, where cell service dropped off after the second gas station, and the only sound for miles was wind in the pines. She wanted space. I was going to give it to her, and I was going to do something with it. I got back into town late Sunday evening, dusty and sunburned, but clearer than I'd been in weeks. 3 days in the woods will do that. No reception, no meetings, no Jenna. Just the sound of wind moving through half-built trees on a plot of land we once swore we'd prototype on. I'd taken photos, jotted notes, sketched like I hadn't since architecture school. It felt good, pure, like remembering who I was before the firm, before the shared passwords, before the whispered fights over branding strategy and client control. Monday morning, I headed straight to Lionel Vega's office. He operated out of a brown brick building near downtown, the kind of place where the AC never worked right and every wall was covered in framed court awards. I had barely stepped into the lobby when I saw her. Jenna. She was sitting on the worn leather bench outside Lionel's door, staring at her phone with a sort of manic focus. Hair pulled up hastily, dark circles under her eyes, no makeup, none of her usual polished, Instagram-perfect poise. She looked like she hadn't slept, like she hadn't expected to see me at all. Her eyes snapped up when she heard the door chime, and for the first time in weeks, I saw the real expression behind them, panic. "Why did you freeze the accounts?" she blurted, standing up fast. Her voice echoed too loud in the quiet space. "I didn't stop walking." "Because you left," I said calmly, heading toward Lionel's office door, "and asked me not to reach out. I'm honoring that. You can't just—" She took a step closer, lowering her voice to a hiss. "You can't just shut me out of the company, Marcus. We had plans." I paused with my hand on the doorknob, then turned slightly. "You wanted space," I said. "So I'm making it legal." That hit her. I saw it in the way her mouth opened, then closed, like she had rehearsed a dozen speeches and suddenly none of them fit the moment. "I just needed time," she said, voice trembling. "That wasn't. This isn't what I meant." I nodded once slow. "Yeah, I figured that out around day 2 in the woods, when I realized you didn't even leave a return address." She looked away. Lionel's assistant opened the door from the other side. "Mr. Carr." I stepped in. Jenna didn't follow. Inside, Lionel was already at the table, folders spread out, pen in hand. He didn't ask about the scene outside, just gestured for me to sit. "She wasn't expecting you to act decisively," he said, flipping to the latest printouts. "No," I said quietly, settling into the chair. "She expected me to wait." Out the frosted window, I caught one last glimpse of her standing there, frozen, like the floor had just dropped out beneath her. She wanted distance. She got it, but she wasn't the one drawing the boundaries anymore. 2 days later, I got the voicemail. I was eating lunch at my desk, half focused on a supplier invoice, when my phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to listen. A man's voice filled the speaker, smooth, a little too friendly. "Hey, Marcus. This is Derek. I'm sure you've heard my name by now. Jenna might have mentioned me. We're both in the design networking circle. You know how small this world is." I paused mid-bite. Derek. I remembered that name. The one Jenna used to casually drop in meetings. Derek says the color palette's dated. Derek sent me a new rendering technique. Derek says we need to be bolder. Always with that faint, dismissive laugh, like his opinions didn't carry weight. But they always nudged our direction off course. The message kept playing. Anyway, I just wanted to clear the air a bit. There's no bad blood here. We all want what's best for Jenna, and for the work, obviously. So maybe let's keep things professional, man to man. No need to overreact. Overreact? My jaw clenched. I rewound that part. Man to man. No need to overreact. I didn't know what he looked like, but I pictured him in one of those slim blazers Jenna liked, with a top-tier LinkedIn page and a voice you could bottle as craft gin. I remembered the Lyft receipts she used to file under consulting, the late-night brainstorming sessions she brushed off. I remembered asking, "Is this guy part of the firm?" and her laughing like I was insecure. Now he was leaving me veiled warnings on my voicemail. I didn't call him back. Instead, I opened a new email to Lionel and attached the audio file. Subject line, voicemail from Derek, possible collusion? No extra words. No explanation. Just the facts. Like I was building a case. Because I was. If Jenna thought she could split from me clean, then show back up with a new partner, and slide back into the business without consequences, she'd miscalculated. She picked her side. Now I was documenting everything. It was Friday morning, just after 10, when they showed up. I was in the middle of reviewing our client renderings for a municipal green roof proposal when I heard the buzz at the front door, sharp, insistent. I thought it might be a courier. But when I glanced at the camera feed on my phone, there they were, Jenna and Derek, standing side by side outside the glass doors of the office. She looked not quite like the Jenna I remembered. Her ponytail was messy. No laptop bag. No clipboard. Just her and Derek, both dressed too casually for a business meeting, but too put together for a social call. They looked ready for a confrontation. I didn't get up right away. I let them wait a minute. Then I walked to the front, unlocked the top bolt, and opened the door just enough to step outside. "Marcus," Jenna said, like we were bumping into each other at brunch. "We're here to grab a few of my things." She smiled like it was a perfectly normal thing to say. Behind her, Derek stood with his hands in his pockets, flashing that polite half-smile I'd heard in his voicemail. I could already feel the smugness rolling off him in waves. "Office is closed," I said simply. Jenna blinked. "It's not even lunch." I shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You left voluntarily. You don't have access anymore." "I left to take space," she said carefully, like she was reading from a prepared script. "I didn't abandon the company. I didn't forfeit my rights." I met her gaze. "You cleared out your personal gear, left a note, and disappeared. You didn't attend any scheduled meetings. You haven't responded to legal outreach. That's abandonment in any other context." Derek stepped forward, trying for calm authority. "Look, Marcus, let's be reasonable here. Jenna's not trying to fight you. She just wants her design archives, some files, her portfolio. She can have what's legally hers," I said. "Through counsel. Not like this." He chuckled, like I was being dramatic. "Come on, man. You're making this way harder than it has to be." I pulled out my phone and tapped the voice recorder app, holding it visibly between us. "I'm documenting this conversation, just so we're clear. If you have business requests, send them through your lawyer." Jenna's face tightened. "You're seriously recording us? You showed up unannounced. At my firm. After removing yourself from operations. With someone who's not legally associated with the company." "Yes, I'm recording." Derek narrowed his eyes, dropping the charm. "You really want to play hardball?" "I'm not playing anything," I said. "This office is locked. This company is secure. And your lawyer can talk to mine." I stepped back inside and let the door close behind me. Jenna knocked once more, but I didn't answer. Instead, I walked back to my desk, saved the audio file, and forwarded it to Lionel. Subject line, unscheduled visit. Recorded. They thought I'd cave. That I'd crack under the tension. But they underestimated the one thing I never gave away. Not to Jenna, not to anyone. Control. That night, I stayed late at the office. Not working, searching. I'd been thinking about that visit all day. The way Jenna kept saying her files, and Derek playing it cool like he already knew what was inside our systems. Something wasn't sitting right. They weren't improvising. They were trying to get something specific and fast. So I opened up the shared project server we'd built over the years. Jenna and I had always used a custom cloud solution, secure, compartmentalized folders for each client, timestamped backups, audit logs. But she'd also insisted on keeping her personal drafts in a concept_dev folder, which she'd mirrored onto her own cloud. I clicked into it and started digging. At first, it was small things, duplicated schematics, early-stage concept renders I vaguely remembered from team meetings. But then I found something deeper, a set of folders labeled Viridian_reboot, Phase 0, and Studio Split. That last one stopped me. Inside, mock-ups, wireframes, branding slides, a fully skinned pitch deck with a modern, boutique logo I'd never seen before, Studio Westrut. Their tagline, "Design the Departure." It hit me like a slap. Jenna hadn't just walked out of our company. She'd walked into a new one. And Derek? He wasn't a consultant. He was listed as co-founder in one of the slide footers. She'd been building this thing behind my back, using our render engines, our drafts, and in some cases, my original technical drawings with her design overlays. The timestamps didn't lie. She had started uploading these 6 weeks before she left. I opened our finance dashboard and searched for flagged transactions. 2 irregular downloads popped up from a client archive, one we'd been preparing for a government bid. Full export, downloaded from Jenna's account, 2 days before the note. Next, I scanned her personal Slack channel. It hadn't been wiped completely. A few fragments remained, archived in the metadata. One message to Derek caught my eye. Marcus still thinks this off-grid crap matters. I'll let him keep dreaming while we build something with actual relevance. Mockery. Theft. A full premeditated exit disguised as burnout. I sat there for a moment, not angry, just cold, focused. Then I opened a new email to Lionel. Subject line, material breach. I attached screenshots, the full file directory list, the financial download logs, and 3 saved messages. No commentary, no dramatics, just the truth, neatly packaged. If Jenna thought she could take my vision, rebrand it, and walk away clean, she was about to find out that her trail wasn't as invisible as she thought. She left me with silence. But her fingerprints were everywhere. By mid-June, the ripples turned into waves. It started quietly, an email from Lionel. All cease and desist notices have been served. Assets under review are frozen pending court resolution. Watch for public response. I didn't have to wait long. On Wednesday, Architects Digest South published a glowing feature on Studio Westroot, Derek and Jenna's new venture. They'd launched with carefully curated language, bold, ethical, forward-thinking. Photos of them smiling in borrowed co-working spaces, surrounded by mood boards and artfully messy coffee mugs. But one thing was missing, their portfolio, because most of it wasn't theirs. The next morning, I got a call from an industry friend, Reena Patel, who ran a mid-sized firm in Charleston. She sounded almost amused. Hey, just a heads up, I was approached by Jenna and some guy named Derek. They pitched your Canyon Ridge project. I blinked. The off-grid cluster? Yep. Same specs, same energy model. Even used your site photography. Told me they'd refined it. I sat back in my chair, heart calm. Did you sign anything? She laughed. Please. I know your line work when I see it. I reported it straight to AIA and flagged them in our database. That was the first call. By Friday, there were 5 more. Turns out Jenna and Derek hadn't expected the community we'd spent years building to close ranks so quickly. They'd underestimated how small our world really was. Firms talk. Contractors talk. And the moment a cease and desist hits your inbox with scanned blueprints attached, people start distancing themselves. Another email from Lionel arrived that afternoon. Docket filed. Formal motion for injunction granted. Temporary restraining order in place. Westroot cannot present or publish any material derived from shared IP until further notice. That same day, I opened LinkedIn and saw Derek's post. Studio Westroot is temporarily pausing outreach due to unexpected legal turbulence. We stand for creativity and independence, and we'll rise above this. It had 2 likes. One was from Jenna. By Monday, industry blogs were buzzing. Terms like portfolio theft, IP dispute, and internal sabotage started circulating. Nobody said their names outright. Not yet, but the tone had shifted. They were no longer darlings of the sustainable design scene. I was wrapping up a call with our structural engineer when I got the message from Justin Lin, a longtime colleague and early supporter of our firm. They're hemorrhaging clients. No one wants to touch them. Even the fabricator pulled out. Good on you for playing it smart. I didn't reply right away. I just scrolled through our active client board. 12 projects still live, 5 in pre-development, 3 new inquiries in the past week. I hadn't made any noise. No press conferences. No emotional rants. I just filed the paperwork, sent the evidence, and let their choices speak for themselves. Turns out when you build something out of someone else's bones, it doesn't stand for long. It was nearly 4 months to the day since Jenna left when the final paperwork came through. Lionel forwarded the signed separation documents in a plain, quiet email. Subject, finalized. Body, you now retain full ownership of all IP, trademarks, and licensing tied to CAR modular design. Congratulations. Just like that, the last thread was cut. The firm was mine, legally, financially, creatively. No more shared tags on past projects. No more caveats in our contracts. No more Jenna. I spent the next week rewriting our identity from the ground up. The old logo, designed by Jenna in a whirlwind weekend of edgy inspiration, was retired. I commissioned a quiet, clean brand mark. I changed the name to something simple, Car Studio. No flair. Just roots. I bought out the lease on our office space. The same space we used to argue in over tile samples and render timelines. I ripped out the neon sign she loved, designed louder, and replaced it with a matte black bookshelf I had always wanted. No statement piece. No spotlight. Just books, texture samples, and the model of the off-grid prototype we never got to build together. That Friday evening, I was locking up when I saw the email. From Jenna Tran. Subject, quick request. Body, hope you're well. Any chance you can grant me temporary access to the shared archive? I need a few design files for my portfolio. Also, do I still get my share of the old office deposit? Let me know. I read it twice. There was no apology. No acknowledgement of what she did. Just a casual, hey, remember me? Like none of it mattered anymore. I closed the email. Took a sip of the tea I had left too long on the windowsill. Then I opened our user database, scrolled to her profile, still listed under former partner, and clicked remove access. A confirmation box popped up. Are you sure you want to remove this user from all projects and folders? Yes. I hit confirm. The system chimed once. Her name disappeared. That was it. No drama. No reply. Just the clean click of a digital lock sliding shut. She'd always said I was too slow, too deliberate, that I'd miss opportunities by playing it safe. But this wasn't about safety. It was about control. And finally, after months of noise, betrayal, and silence, I had it back. Not just over the business. Over myself. These days, the office feels quieter, but in the good way. No slam drawers. No back-to-back client pitches with half-baked taglines. No Jenna pacing while blasting ambient techno to unlock creative flow. Just the software of fans, the click of my pen, and the hum of ideas being built the right way, slow, clean, steady. Car Studio has a rhythm now. Our newest project, a passive solar duplex outside Boone, just got its permits. The city planner called our energy model a benchmark for regional builds. That meant something. Not to a headline or to the market, but to me. I finally installed the bookshelf. The one I'd always wanted but Jenna said was a visual energy killer. She preferred neon, edgy signage, minimalism with too much ego. But I liked the quiet weight of walnut shelves stacked with texture samples, old concept binders, dog-eared books about energy flow and thermal bridging. I don't know. Maybe it sounds boring to some people. But to me, it's the kind of stability that holds things together when everything else falls apart. The other day, I was walking a client through the studio when he paused beside it. This feels grounded, he said, running a hand along the edge of the shelf. Exactly, I said. He looked at me, curious. How do you come up with this space? I just smiled. Trial and error. He didn't need the full story. Jenna and Derek? They're still trying to launch something new every other week. Different branding, different angles, same foundation that cracked the first time. I hear things. Industry friends talk. One of our suppliers forwarded me an email chain from Derek recently. He was trying to license renderings they didn't have rights to. Again, some people never learn. A younger designer on our team asked about the old days last week. Said he'd heard. There used to be another founder. I shrugged. Yeah, but things changed. He looked embarrassed for asking, like he'd touched something raw. But it wasn't. I didn't burn anything down, I said, filing away a contract. I just let the fire she started finish its work. He nodded slowly. Then we got back to building. Because that's what I do now. Quietly. Cleanly. Without ghosts. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and share your opinion about this story in the comments.